Welcome to tonight's tale, a fairy tale theater podcast. I'm your host, Emily from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm joined by my beautiful co-host, Eric.
Hi, I'm Eric. I'm from New York.
And tonight we're revisiting the tale of Beauty and the Beast. Eric, do you have any of the background information on this episode?
Beauty and the Beast aired on August 13th, 1984. It's season 3, episode 6. It's directed by Roger Vadim, and writer for the teleplay is Robert C. Jones. Fun fact, I didn't know this until today, looking up. I didn't know who Roger Vadim was. He is actually known for the screenplay for Barbarella.
Really?
Yes.
I never knew that.
So that's fun.
That is fun.
I don't think I'm really familiar with anything else from him. It looks like he did a lot of French things, which obviously makes sense for this episode.
Very much so. Beauty and the Beast is obviously based off of the classic French fairy tale. And we're going to be going through the episode, what we remember. So, Eric, what is the first thing you think of when this episode comes to mind? Beauty and the Beast. What first jumps to mind?
It just seems very different than all the other episodes to me. It's more of an atmospheric, almost cinematic episode because it doesn't seem, the other ones you can very clearly see they were on a soundstage and this and that, but like this is clearly a lot of outdoor shots.
Yes.
They film in an actual house.
Yes.
It seemed like a lot more went into this as far as cinematography, as far as art direction, as far as filming locations. And I think that was the point, to make it seem as close to the Cocteau version as possible. So make it seem more like you're actually there, opposed to the other ones that seem kind of campy and on a soundstage. And you know what I mean? Just more television like. This seems more film like, not really television per se.
I completely agree. It was very much inspired by the Jean Cocteau French film that was released in 1946. It was based on that very much in terms of art direction, costumes. And I'll agree with you. This episode of Fairy Tale Theater, it did seem different. It did seem more cinematic, and probably because, unlike the other art direction of the other episodes, this one was actually based on a movie. Most of the other episodes, the art direction was based on illustrations. This one was actually based on a movie, beautiful film. And I was thinking about it, and to my recollection, this is one of only 3 episodes that were filmed on location. They actually went outside of a studio. The only other 2 I can think of were Hansel and Gretel and Little Mermaid. I can't think of any others. Can you?
No, I really can't.
I know they went to a beach.
Everything else was in a studio.
Yeah, I know they went to a beach for Little Mermaid, and they were in the forest for Hansel and Gretel, and at a chateau for this one, for Beauty and the Beast. So I'll agree, it was different for that. How familiar are you with the source material?
Well, I'm not very familiar with the source material, the actual original fairy tale, but I think like most people, I'm very familiar with the Disney version.
Of course. The Disney version came out maybe
early 90s.
Yeah, so not even 10 years later. And of course, we talked about the 1946 French film. The original earliest telling of the fairy tale of Beauty and the Beast was written in the 1700s by Madame de Villeneuve. She wrote the original tale, and that was actually a novel-length story with all sorts of ins and outs and different threads. It was a novel, really. It wasn't a fairy tale. And then what happened was Madame de Beaumont, who was also a French woman, she was working as a governess. The story goes she had 2 young female charges that she knew were going to probably have arranged marriages. So she adapted this story to kind of teach them that you may be married to someone who seems like a beast, but he might be a prince underneath. So she's the one who's really credited with turning it more into an actual fairy tale. And then there's a third version of the fairy tale that was adapted in English by Andrew Lang, and that was much more recent. That was around 1900. Of course, that's the one version I have not read, but I believe that's the one that is probably going to be closest to our fairy tale theater adaptation. The Villeneuve version is more complex. There's all sorts of funny ins and outs. Like, it turns out at the end that Beauty is related to the Beast. They're like first cousins separated at birth. It's a whole
Ew.
Yeah, well, this is 1700s.
Oh no.
Yeah, it turned out the fairy who cursed the Beast, her sister, was Beauty's real mother. Okay. Fairy Tale Theater followed the Beaumont version very closely, but what I remember being different was the sisters. In Fairy Tale Theater, they're more used for comic relief, and in de Beaumont, they're kind of sinister, and they're plotting to get the Beast to eat their sister, which is not a very nice thing to do, and they're turned into statues at the end.
Oh no. Oh
Yeah.
God.
So, a little sinister there. You tend to not expect that from the French fairy tales. The German fairy tales, sure, but I do believe the Andrew Lang version dropped that part. That's why I think this was probably closer to the Andrew Lang version. That was a long way of my saying I'm somewhat familiar with the source material.
You think?
Sorry.
No, we appreciate you being familiar. At least someone here is familiar, because I am not.
Well, you knew Aladdin last week and I didn't, so it's good that we switch.
Touche.
The first thing that sticks in my mind when I think of this episode is Klaus Kinski. He's a very unique actor, very memorable in everything that he's ever been in. This was the first thing I saw him in. I first saw this episode when I was a kid in the 80s. But I remember him in Dr. Zhivago. I've seen several of his German films. Very gifted actor, very interesting individual. I will have more to say about Klaus Kinski as we move through the podcast, but he's definitely such a presence and the first thing I think of. Did you have any
And super creepy.
Oh yeah.
Super creepy.
Oh yeah, I won't deny that. He was very creepy.
No, thank you very much. I really like Susan Sarandon. I love her as an actress. I don't know. I just love her. I have really great memories of her in movies growing up.
Yes.
Stepmom and Rocky Horror when I got older. Obviously, I didn't see that when I was super young.
It's a great
So
movie,
many.
but it's not made for children. I will agree with that. Actually, I was thinking about this when I was doing my rewatch. Susan Sarandon, when she made this, I think Rocky Horror was probably the only big movie, or, well, it was a cult classic still. I don't think it was that well known at the time, but this was before she'd made Thelma and Louise. It was before she'd made most of her big hits. So I was looking back through her filmography, and the only two movies I knew that she had made, that I was familiar with, that she had made prior to this, were Rocky Horror and a film called The Hunger with David Bowie. I don't know if I'm the only one who remembers this movie, but I do.
I don't remember that movie.
It was an independent art film. Okay.
Yeah, I'm looking at some of her movies from the early 80s and late 70s, and I
She
don't
hadn't even made
know any of them.
Witches of Eastwick hadn't even been made yet. So she was pretty, I mean, she'd been working as an actress, but she wasn't nearly as famous as she is now. And I remember reading about this in Klaus Kinski's autobiography, which is a very interesting read. He called her, quote, some actress from New York, unquote. So he clearly, he wasn't a big fan. And according to him, the reason he agreed to be in this was, number one, because they promised him Jessica Lange would play Beauty, and number two, because he was a big fan of the Jean Cocteau film. And then he got very mad when Jessica Lange was not his Beauty and some actress from New York played Beauty instead.
Yeah, she dropped out.
Yeah, there seems to be some confusion if Jessica Lange was supposed to play Sleeping Beauty or Beauty from Beauty and the Beast. Maybe she tried to do one and then she tried to do the other. There seems to be mixed sources on that. But according to Klaus Kinski, she was supposed to be in this with him. And I believe Jack Nicholson was the first choice for the Beast.
Yeah, that's what I read as well. I've seen that somewhere.
Shelley had, of course, worked with him on The Shining, and they got along very well. She wanted him to play the Beast. It just sounded like scheduling just didn't work out. Starting our rewatch, the first opening shot we have is our introduction by our beloved Shelley Duvall.
I love this. I think it's one of her best introductions because she's on the horse and it's so cute. And she's like hugging the horse.
It's so sweet.
It's so adorable.
I agree. It's so sweet.
Oh, Shelley.
We love Shelley.
Hello, I'm Shelley Duvall. Welcome to Fairy Tale Theater. Tonight's story is taken from the classic French tale about a merchant's beautiful daughter who finds her prince through the kind heart of a beast. Beauty and the Beast.
So she gives her introduction, and then we get the credits, and the episode opens up with the character Jacques, played by Stanley Wilson, who, by the way, was Shelley Duvall's boyfriend at the time. He plays Jacques and comes up to the chateau they were on location filming in front of, and we have our beloved Angelica Houston in the garden and Nancy Lenehan. They were playing the sisters and having a ball on the swing. Angelica Houston, it's kind of a surprising role for her to take. She was already an Oscar winner at this point.
Was she?
Yeah, she had already won Best Supporting Actress for Prizzi's Honor, I believe. I think she was a friend of Shelley's, so she probably just agreed to do it for fun. But she certainly could have had a leading role if she wanted it. She was already that big of a star. But I think she did this more for fun.
Makes sense. A lot of them, that's what they say when they're interviewed about this. They said they did it for fun because it was just a few days to shoot, and it was just like a fun little thing to do. They said they really need to do it for money because they didn't get much money from it. But
I can believe that.
yeah, she's hot off the heels of Prizzi's Honor because Prizzi's Honor came out in 1985.
Okay, I was right then. Yeah, so she was still very hot hot as in active. She was still very popular and very current when she made this.
Yeah.
So the characters of the sisters are used here rather like in the Cocteau film, more for comic relief.
So the very first shot is the sisters on the swing, and they're like playing around on the swing.
Mm-hmm.
And Jacques, I believe that's his name, right? The suitor,
yes.
the caller, the gentleman caller. Jacques is coming around and he wants to see Beauty.
Right.
And the girls are like, I don't understand why Jacques never comes for us.
Oh, I hate her name. She should be called Scrubwoman or Scullery.
Or Mop Handle or Broom. Why doesn't Jacques call on us? We're twice as beautiful.
They're catty.
It's just like
they're catty.
Typical catty sisters, you know?
Yeah, there seems to be a little bit of a Cinderella vibe there, even though they're not stepsisters, but they do seem to kind of have the catty sisters, and then it's the sweet younger sister. And why isn't she out there playing in the garden? Because she's scrubbing a floor.
Yeah, she's scrubbing the floors. Which, by the way, jumped right out at me because that's the costume that Beverly D'Angelo wears in Sleepy Hollow.
That's right. That was the exact same costume.
Mm-hmm.
But the introduction of Beauty, I mean, I made a big note on this. It was identical. This was a shot-for-shot remake of the Cocteau introduction of Beauty, La Belle et la Bête. When they introduce Belle, she's scrubbing a kitchen floor, and they introduce her reflection in the bucket just like they do here, and you see Josette Day.
Yes.
It was shot for shot. I love that because it is such a beautiful shot in black and white. It was nice to see the exact same shot in color. I thought that was a lovely homage.
And the sisters they do show the sisters on the swings as well, no?
Probably.
If I recall, it's been a hot minute. I think they were on the swings as well. It's almost like the blocking and everything was shot for shot. Like that was the director's goal, was to do a shot for shot homage to the original.
Yeah, a lot of the dialogue is almost line by line, except in English rather than French. But we watched the Jean Cocteau film together, I don't know, about a year ago. And we were both sitting there going, that's the same line from Fairy Tale Theater.
Mm-hmm.
We kept pointing it out.
Because we watched them back to back.
Yes, we've got Jacques who walks in and finds Beauty scrubbing a floor and enters the conversation that he's already asked her to marry him, and she's kind of politely declined, but he hasn't given up yet. There's kind of a harsh moment where she said,
Jacques, when I marry, it will be out of love, not out of need.
and I made a note because Stanley Wilson just has a moment where he doesn't say anything, but he just plays it so well with his eyes. You can just feel he's hurt by that. He really cares about Beauty. I just thought that was a good acting choice on his part.
It's kind of like he's kind of like, what gives, lady? And she's like, not feeling it.
Except the actors put a little more emotion behind it than that.
Yeah, but it's just kind of heartbreaking because he's tried clearly so many times to have her accept his proposal. He's tried so many times, it seems that way.
And it really seems he cares about her. It's not because she's the prettiest one or anything like that. He really seems to have feelings for her, and she doesn't return them. She said no, but you get the feeling that was a very polite no, a very gentle no.
Unrequited love.
Exactly.
He doesn't feel it back.
Yeah. You
So
gotta
sad.
feel for the guy. You've got to feel for the guy, even though every other word he says is charming. Did you notice that?
Oh my, everything about him is charming. He has the beautiful horse. He has the beautiful clothes. He carries himself so well.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. But in terms of his dialogue, apparently charming is the only word he knows. He's like, that would be charming. My, how charming you look. What a charming evening. Everything is charming. I'm like, I should have started a tally for how many times he says charming. The sisters come in and they announce that their father's ship has finally been found and they're going to be a family of fortune again. I don't know. The way it's played, it kind of goes, oh, Jacques kind of going, so that's why she turned me down.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't need my money, which I don't think was the point of the story, but it was interesting timing.
Yeah. And then he goes off with the girls. They were like, Jacques, you want to walk with us?
A stroll would be charming.
And he says that would be charming.
Yep, too cute.
So
So then we move on to the next scene, which is the father, right, coming back
Yes.
home in the woods.
yes, lost in
then
the woods. And that's
Lost in the woods.
What more can go wrong? They are hungry and we are hungry. We are lost and they are not. Don't be afraid.
yes. And that's played by our beautiful Stephen Elliott, who is an actor that I've always enjoyed. He's, for my money, he was in one of the funniest movies ever made, Arthur, with
Aw.
Dudley Moore. He played the villain in that. So I love seeing him as the caring father figure here. So it was a treat to see him in this role.
Yeah, I really think he does a great job. And this scene is very reminiscent for those people who have seen the Disney version, because Maurice is doing the same thing when he's traveling back home and he gets lost in the woods and he's kind of scared in the woods, the creepy woods with all
Oh,
these
you're
creepy
right.
sounds.
With all the mist.
And the horse doesn't want to move forward. And once again, we get that lovely owl sound in the woods.
You're right. You're right. I hadn't noticed that.
We love that button on the soundboard.
How many of the fairy tales has that appeared in?
Definitely Rapunzel. Definitely this one. Definitely Hansel and Gretel. Anyone where they're in the woods, Boy Who Left Home. Anyone where someone ends up in the woods or is like traveling in the woods or something of that nature. We use
We have the
that
creepy
sound.
owl. Yes.
So funny. So
Snow White.
it's great.
And Snow White.
Snow White,
And
yes,
Little Red
Snow
Riding
White.
Hood, too.
It's in all of them. It's crazy. It's crazy how many times they've used it.
It's the
Can't
same.
even count them at this
it's
point.
the same owl. It's the same
Yes.
owl that's circling around
And the fog machine.
here.
So 80s. I love it. Stephen Elliott, who I'm not super familiar with. I don't think I ever saw Arthur, to be honest with you.
Ah, you're killing me, Eric.
I'm sorry. I'm
No,
sorry.
no. Fabulous. Fabulous is very 80s movie, but it's Dudley Moore and the great Liza Minnelli, who of course later appeared in Princess and the Pea on Fairy Tale.
Yes. So yes, he does the whole scene where he gets lost and he comes upon this castle in the middle of the woods, and he walks into the castle, and it is a literal, once again, shot by shot homage, because we're not going to say a remake because it's not a remake. It's a very beloved homage to the original with the Jean Cocteau version. And it's the dark hallway with the hands holding the candelabras.
I found creepy as a kid, by the way. I did not understand that. These hands coming out of the walls holding the candelabras. I was like, are these supposed to be the enchanted servants? I don't think there was that much thought put into it. Now I know it came from the Jean Cocteau film. I don't think it was really that much thought put into it about what happened to the servants, but Disney certainly took the idea of what happened to the servants and ran with it. But I agree, this was pretty much shot for shot from the Cocteau film. So.
Yeah, and he walks in and he sees the table, and he
does something that's not very smart. He sees food, he doesn't know where it came from. He sees wine, he doesn't know where it came from, so he eats it and drinks it.
Yeah, we don't do that, sir, because that's how we get poisoned and roofied. So,
he does say thank you. He's very polite.
Although he might have been roofied because he passed out, didn't he?
Oh, actually, that's a good point. He did, because the next time you see him, it's morning. So
yeah.
So
that's fun.
Yeah, but it is straight out of the fairy tale, to be fair. He was lost and he was hungry, and the beast saw to it that he was well fed and he got a good night's sleep, and he wakes up, he goes out into the garden, and this is a very important part of the fairy tale. He finds the rose bush.
Yes, and he plucks the white rose, the one white rose on there, and the beast comes out.
You steal my rose, the one I love the most. You could have taken anything except the rose. For this thoughtless robbery, you deserve to die.
And he's growling, and Klaus Kinski in his accent, which I don't even understand half of what he's saying in this scene, but we're just going to go with it. I'm just going according to what I remember that it's supposed to be, he's supposed to be saying here.
To be fair, I speak German, and I've seen films that Klaus Kinski made in German, and I still couldn't understand him. So I don't think it's just the accent. The way he spoke, his natural cadence tended to be yelling a lot.
You have 15 minutes to prepare to die.
No, my lord.
Silence! The beast commands you!
A lot of yelling, a lot of screaming.
But actually, Kinski's interpretation of the beast, we should talk about for a second, because Disney's version, a lot of the other cinematic versions I've seen, yeah, the beast is scary at first, but that's more just because that's how he looks. And then you see that he's kind of a sad individual. Kinski, his interpretation was different. He was mad the whole time. It wasn't he was mad at individual people. He was mad at his situation, which I thought was an interesting choice, and it worked. But as a result, you did get the beast yelling a lot.
Yeah, but like that didn't help because I couldn't understand him as it was. And now he's screaming. So now I definitely don't understand him. But the costume and the representation of him, the makeup, spot on. Comparing that and how he looked in the Cocteau version, spot on.
Yeah,
like, beautiful.
He was made up exactly like Jean Marais was made up in the Cocteau film. It was a perfect replica. And that's pretty impressive that these came about 40 years apart and obviously made in different countries with very different resources available. So that makeup was spot on. The costume was pretty much spot on.
That's what I'm saying. It's just so much more for me compared to the other episodes of Fairy Tale Theater. The attention to detail and definitely money that went into this.
Oh, I agree.
Episode compared to other episodes, very different.
Like so much. There's just so much going on in this episode. You've got great makeup. You've got great actors, you've got great locations, and it's more open. They opened it right up.
Not the other ones weren't great. I mean, we just finished talking about the first episode that we taped where we talked about Aladdin, which is, I mean, Tim Burton, who's great, but this just felt like we talked about cinematic. It just felt over the top, like a movie, like a movie set.
Oh, Aladdin was wonderful, but I never got the impression that they weren't on a set. I felt they were on a set time, a very stylized set, and it worked and it was beautiful, but it did feel more closed compared to Beauty and the Beast, where they went outside and you saw the sun and everything. I completely agree with you.
Yeah, we're very much out in
Yeah.
the middle of the woods on the countryside. That's definitely happening.
We have the Beast screaming at the dad, and the dad gives the backstory of how he was supposed to regain his riches. His ship was lost. His youngest daughter asked only for the rose. That's why he picked it, which is a sweet story. The Beast doesn't care.
Mm-hmm.
But he is interested to hear that the guy has daughters. He does zero in on that. Although I did like his, you have 15 minutes to prepare to die. That was a good line. And the way Klaus Kinski said it, I believed him. The Beast does give the option of, if one of your daughters agrees to take your place, I'll let you live. Of course, dad's a good dad. He doesn't think that's a considerable option, but he'll take him up on it for the opportunity to go and say goodbye to his family. That's kind of how the deal struck. So the Beast gives him his horse because his own ran away in fright, and they agree that either he or one of his daughters will be back within 7 days.
Mm-hmm. I think he made it very clear that he's not sending one of his daughters. That's not happening.
Yeah, that was the plan.
He's like, yeah, I don't want to do that. So we're not doing that.
Yeah, he's a decent guy. No decent dad would go, well, yeah, I'll just, to save my life, yeah, I'll just send you my daughter. Now, which one do I not like?
Would your dad do that to you?
He would certainly threaten to, let me put it that way. Back at the house, we've got a beautiful shot, again, reminiscent of the 1946 film, of the family gathered by the hearth. I love the art direction in this episode. You've got them all gathered by the hearth, all the beautiful dresses, and the father, and he's explaining what happened. And we've got rather an over dramatic, in my opinion, reading by Susan Sarandon saying,
Father, let me go and replace.
You must never say that.
I love you.
I'd surely die of grief if I lost you.
Die of grief if she lost her father. You know, I'm very close to my dad. Eric, you know this. You've met my dad. I'm very close to him. I'm not sure I'd go so far as die of grief.
And he's like, no, Beauty, I can't send you. I can't let you do that.
To be fair, it is directly from the fairy tale. It is kind of a convenient plot device, but it is straight from the fairy tale. She says she wants to go. Dad says no. He goes to bed. And the sisters, this part struck me as true to life. The sisters are going, you're just sucking up. You would never go. You're just saying that to get on his good side. She's like, nope, I am going. And the sisters then are calling her bluff. Well, okay, you're going to do it? How? This is where I say Angelica Houston was not wasted in the role. She's doing a very good job with the supporting role.
Yeah, so my question is how? How did, because we know how he got home. He took the horse Magic home, right? The horse that they painted his hoof silver.
So I recall in the French film, they put like little rhinestones in his mane. And
no, they like painted his hoof silver in this version.
I did not notice that.
Yeah, I don't think that PETA approved.
Oh, poor horsey. And I don't think it's really explained in the fairy tale theater version, but in the 46 movie, it was the Go Where I Go Magic. Oh, no, it wasn't Magic. It was, whatever name he had in the movie. It was Va, Va, Va. And apparently the father had told the girls what the secret code word was to get back to the castle. So that's how Belle made it back to the castle. Presumably it was the same thing. She probably
no, in this version he didn't tell them. The Beast told him, tell him,
or
go where I go Magic.
Yeah, but he might have said it earlier and we just came in at the end of the tale.
Maybe.
Magic, Eric, go with it.
Magique.
Magnifique. That was the horse's name. It was Magnifique. Va, va, va.
Yes.
I'm amazed I remember that. I haven't seen the movie.
Magnifique. That was his name, Magnifique.
Okay.
Flash forward. She takes the horse. She leaves in the middle of the night.
Yes.
Surprise, surprise.
And
she
the
walks
dad
into
does,
the castle.
To give the dad credit, he does chase after her. He does try. He doesn't get very far, but he does try. I'll give the dad credit.
He does. He tries. Bless his heart.
So then we get the arrival of Beauty at the castle.
Yes. So then we have the same scene, but with Beauty walking into the castle. And she starts to walk in, but unlike her father,
Yeah, her
the Beast
dad who
walks in
just
right behind her.
Well, her dad just walked in and saw, the creepy candlesticks on the wall and just went with it and went, okay, oh, free wine. Okay. Beauty seems to be a little smarter here. She's like, why are their hands sticking out of the walls? This is not good. And she turns around and starts to rethink the whole thing. She runs back and then she comes face to face with the beast.
Yes. And he scares the crap out of her, which I don't blame her because
Yeah.
he would scare the crap out of me.
He did scare the crap out of me. I first saw this when I was like 5. So
And especially a later scene was kind of creepy to me, but I'll talk about that later. But
she doesn't take it well. She doesn't
passes
take it,
out.
Yeah, she does actually a very dramatic and pretty well done faint. And he picks her up and carries her down the hall. This is another shot-for-shot remake from the French film with him carrying Belle down the long corridor with the curtains billowing in the wind. And there is a story. It's from one of the producers. I'm not sure which one. It might be Bridget Terry. One of them told the story of the filming of this particular scene. Klaus was carrying Susan down this hallway, and the director said, cut, and he just dropped her. He just dropped her.
He was like, nope, no thanks. We're done.
It's like, cut, okay. She fell on the ground. Poor Susan. I got the feeling Susan and Klaus weren't the best of friends on this film.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think there was a shot in the original version that they didn't use in this, which I really, really like. Wasn't there a shot in the original where they're walking down the hallway and her wardrobe changes that she goes into the gown?
Well, they do that here. It's kind of sad. The French film 40 years earlier in black and white did it better, I think. How they did it here.
Like it was like the curtain went across, and then when the curtain came back over, she was in her gown, right?
Gown.
Or something like that.
And in here, he walks her into a door. She's in her Beverly D'Angelo clothes. And when he carries her through the room, she's in her ball gown. It's a very cheap 80s special effect, but they clearly used their budget on the makeup and the art direction. So some of the special effects were low budget, but they work.
And then basically those are Beauty's 2 costumes. She has the gown.
I know.
The one ball gown for the whole time she's in the castle. Just one. He just gave her just one in the magical castle. That's all they could come up with was one ball gown.
And Beast too. Beast had no desire to change his clothes at all.
I guess they just didn't have a wardrobe budget in this magic castle. The enchantress was like, you can wear one thing. So he puts her to bed and then she wakes up and then goes to dinner, right?
And I remember when the Disney film was being in production, and they were discussing what changes they might make to the original story. And one of the writers goes, Beauty and the Beast is a beautiful fairy tale, but if you take it down to its core, it's a story about 2 people having dinner a lot. I'm like, that's absolutely true. That writer
it's a lot
is
of
not
dinner.
Wrong. It's a lot of dinner scenes. I don't blame Disney for opening it up more. Fairy Tale Theater more was following the Cocteau film, and they didn't really have the time to expand it that much. So they did go with the traditional, a lot of dinner scenes. So Beauty enters the dining room. I thought Susan made a good job of looking uncomfortable even before the Beast showed up. She's like, I'm not used to living in a castle and walking around in satin and diamonds. I'm used to scrubbing kitchen floors. This is not my happy place. And then the Beast enters, which doesn't help her nerves. And there's a line here that I recognized straight from the de Beaumont version where she says,
You are the master.
There's no master here but you.
That's straight from the de Beaumont version, where he's pretty much putting the castle and everything he has at her feet. It's not his castle.
Aww.
It's hers. It's it's rather romantic, really.
That's cute.
And you do get some real great acting in this scene from Kinski. It's what I wrote in my notes during the rewatch. Here's where I can see why he was chosen for this role, because he has this great line.
Even so, I look so ugly. I have a soul.
And he says it with his eyes, and he's a very intense actor. And he said that with everything inside him. And with his thick German accent, I think it added to the mystery of his character. I think that scene just Kinski's best scene in the entire episode, really.
I could see that. It's very intense. His eyes are very intense. His characteristics are very intense. Yeah, I could see that.
I'm a Klaus Kinski fan, so maybe I'm a little
But
more.
it comes across also really creepy.
Well, yes, absolutely. This is Klaus Kinski.
And whenever he comes in the room, he's standing over her shoulder, not even looking at her. And you always have those shots of her just looking over her shoulder. She's like, "No, Beast, I'm not. I can't.
Yeah.
No, I don't want to marry you."
Yeah, we left out the important
I'm
part.
good.
He proposes marriage. We left
The
that
very
out.
first night. Yeah, the very first night. That's what he says to her.
Beauty, will you be my wife?
And I'm like, ew, no, thanks. Pass. I'm going to sit here and eat my steak and go to bed. Thanks.
And the funny thing about Klaus Kinski's casting, I remember rewatching this with my mom a few years ago, and she's like, the funny thing is, they could have saved the entire makeup budget because Klaus Kinski without makeup would have been creepy enough.
So yeah, so she says no. And
she says no, Beast, no. She said no like 4 times.
She just wanted to make it completely clear. And I don't blame her. I would have said exactly the same thing. Absolutely not. Nope.
We're not doing that. Nope. And he goes, okay, well, I'll try again tomorrow.
I'll ask you again tomorrow. Good night, Beauty. And he leaves her alone to finish eating her food.
And she
which is very thoughtful to let her finish her food.
It is, but she sure didn't look like she was hungry anymore, especially when, okay, he accepts the no, but it's, all right, I'll try again tomorrow. Okay, that does not make me feel better.
This sounds like it's going to be a fun time here.
We're just getting started.
So the next scene.
Yes, we've got a cute little scene that's cut here to kind of liven things up. We've got a flashback to Beauty's house, and it's her sisters trying to make dinner, which I'm not the best cook in the world, but anyone's better than those two. I think they were just trying to make potatoes. They were just trying to boil potatoes, and they had one heck of a mess going on. So some cute comic relief again from Nancy Lenehan and Angelica Houston. And I'll say it needed it. With Klaus Kinski's intensity on one end, you needed to have these little breaks.
They're chewing up the scenery. They love doing this comedic role. They're having so much fun.
They absolutely are. And they're great at it. And they play off each other perfectly. It was a nice little breather because then we get to go back to the castle and we're back to our intense moment. This time we've got Beauty brushing her hair in the mirror and she hears very disturbing sounds that I never want to know exactly what those sounds were or what they were supposed to be. Don't want to know.
It's like a screaming almost.
Yeah, it was enough for her to stop brushing her hair, stand up, walk out of her room in her nightgown, and just go, what the heck is that? And we've got just a weird scene with no dialogue. It's shot for shot again from the 46 film, which was if you haven't seen the 46 film, it's an art film, really. They did do a fairy tale, but it is an art film. So some of the shots aren't gonna make sense. They're just done that way to be artistic and to be creative. So this was one of those shots where they had Jean Marais walking down the hallway and he's got smoke coming up from his claws and he doesn't say a word and it's very creepy and atmospheric. And I guess the point is for Belle or Beauty in our version to just be confused and scared and not understanding. And the audience is right there with her. We don't understand, and I don't think we ever understand. But she follows him down the hallway, and he goes straight into her bedroom.
Yeah.
Which is right where I want a guy to go when he's got smoke coming out of his fingernails.
And I assume that he was hunting, right?
I guess
hunting.
So. The steam was like from a dead animal, perhaps.
The blood, maybe, from a dead animal.
Yeah. I don't know. Don't want to know.
But it was in both. Yeah, it was steam coming off the paws. And then he goes right into her bedroom and she obviously left to go explore. He was like, where is she? He's yelling into the mirror, wanting to know.
She's right behind him, actually. This is the one time she snuck up on him.
Yeah. Creepy. No thanks.
And then he does come up with a quick excuse. She's like, why are you in my bedroom? And he's like, I came here to give you a gift. And he just makes this pearl necklace appear, which is pretty and everything. But I noticed she doesn't say thank you. And I don't blame her. I wouldn't say thank you either. I might say thank you tomorrow, but right now, get out of my bedroom.
She's like, okay, you can leave it there.
Yeah, she's like, just leave, please. We can talk about this later. Right now, go.
Right now, you creep me out. Goodbye.
So I guess some of these scenes, and it seems to me there's an awful lot of them for an hour-long show. They're really to illustrate that the beast is an animal on the surface, and he has to hunt for his dinner, and it's not pretty. And she is scared, and she's got a right to be scared of him.
And that juxtaposition of her and him, because when he goes to see her at dinner, he never eats.
Right.
You know, because that's what he does. He goes out and he hunts and he kills animals and that's what he does to eat.
Yeah. He goes to talk to her, propose marriage, then goes away. And you get the feeling this has been going on for a while. The next scene is just kind of, like we were saying, it's just another scene to illustrate how the beast is an animal. You've got Beauty walking around the gardens. She's just taking a walk, but she hears a noise. She looks over and she can see that the beast is feeding, and he's feeding like an animal. And she kind of thinks about going over there. And then she's like, no, there's no reason for me to go over there. No reason. I can't interfere. I'll just talk to him at dinner. Then we cut to dinner and she's clearly been traumatized. She's like, I'm spending my life with this guy who's just eating raw deer in the garden. So he comes in and he's elegant as ever. He's fully dressed. He bows, and she actually goes down on her knees begging to be allowed to see her father, which clearly really upsets him.
Beauty, what are you doing?
Please let me go, Lynn. Please let me go.
Get up, Beauty! Get up!
Please let me go.
He's really troubled by this, but he says, you know what, if you leave forever, I'll probably die. So this is really serious. You need to understand what you're asking of me, and I need to think about it. And she says, okay. She kind of nods and says, that's fair. We get a next scene where they're actually walking together in the garden, which is a pretty important scene. You can see they're starting to bond a little bit. This one reminded me of the Something There scene from the Disney version. They're actually starting to warm to each other a little bit.
Oh, they're walking around and spending their day with each other. Yeah, it's cute.
She does say something along the lines of she enjoys spending time with him, and he says, but you still want to leave me. So they're kind of talking through things. It's actually kind of a regular couples talk. I need you here. Well, I need to be there. Well, let's work through this together. It seemed actually like a couples talk. I thought that was very cool. Then we get what is, I think we all agree, the most disturbing scene of the episode.
I can't with this scene. I don't like it.
I don't even have to describe it. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
I don't like it. It just still creeps me out. I just think about it. It creeps me out.
Creeped me out as a kid. I was really little when I first saw this.
He's covered. She looks out her window, right?
He's on her balcony in the middle of the night. He's on her balcony,
yes.
And he's covered in blood.
And he's just staring there with the steam again, right? It's like steam, but steam coming all off of him, all over. And his clothes are like tattered and bloody and
so disturbing in so many ways. But
and she's just staring at him, and she's like,
"What?"
Literally, the look on her face is WTF.
That's
like,
exactly
what is going on? And she's just staring at him, and he goes,
"Forgive me. Forgive me." For being a beast.
I do kind of see what they were going for there. They were trying to show that the beast is a tortured soul. He hates that he has this side to him, but he can't do anything.
This animalistic side.
He hates it, and he hates that he can't completely hide it from her, and he hates that about himself. It's the tortured soul. I get what they were going for. That said, that was just a really creepy, disturbing scene.
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. It freaked me out. I was very little when I first saw this. I might have had one or two nightmares about it.
Yeah, I don't like it. And then he's like,
"Close your curtain. Close your curtain! Close your curtain! Your look is hurting me! Close your curtain! Quick!
That part I never understood. I guess it's still the tortured soul, and he's so embarrassed that she's seeing him like this. I guess that's what they're going for.
But why is he there then? But then why is he there?
That's an excellent question.
If you don't want to be looked at, why are you there?
If you don't want your girlfriend to see you like this, maybe don't go outside her window at midnight. And yeah.
You don't stand on her balcony to look away, look away. Well, usually when you tell someone to look away, they're going to do the opposite.
Yeah, they're going to look right at you.
Has the opposite effect, sir.
It didn't work for him.
No. Bless his heart.
He meant well, I think. I hope. I don't know. I've never been comfortable with that scene.
Because we don't even really understand what happens. Did he kill something? Did something try to kill him? Both?
Both, probably.
Suicidal tendencies? I really don't know. It's very dark and it's very creepy and I don't like it.
Yeah, he was out lion hunting or something. I don't know.
I don't like it.
And it's better that we don't know. That's the impression I always got. Let's just not ask too many questions. It's based on an art film. Let's leave the mystery. Okay. We all agree that was a very disturbing scene. The next scene is a quieter one. Beauty gets a vision of her father in the mirror, and he's just in bed, clearly sick in bed. He's calling out to her, and she's getting more and more depressed. She can tell her father's just kind of wasting away, not knowing what happened to her. The beast appears and tells her that he has decided to let her go, visit her family. And
this is similar to the Disney version because the same thing happened. She sees her dad not well, right?
Yes, exactly.
In the mirror.
Yeah, and he takes pity on her because the beast does actually care about her. And here he said, I'm letting you go because I can't bear to see you suffer. It is an act of kindness and a big act of trust on his part to let her go. He does give her the ring and says, you need to come back in 7 days. He gives her the instructions. Okay.
Twist it 3 times, 2 times, 3 times. I don't remember.
And when you wake up, you will be with your family. Next we have, this is another example of where the special effects were very cheap, but they worked. We had a shot of her in the outline of a mirror. She's looking at her father, and then it cuts to a shot of her in front of the mirror. It looked like she stepped through the mirror, but we kind of missed that part. I thought that was a very clever, cheap way to do it. The Cocteau film was much more involved. She came through the ceiling, as I recall.
That was so cool. I really like that.
Yeah.
Very stylized. Yeah, but here it was just a walkthrough, right? Almost.
Yeah. Clearly she was standing in front of a frame of a mirror, and then they cut to her standing in front of the mirror. So you kind of just feel like she just stepped through it.
Mm-hmm.
And they saved a fortune in special effects by not showing that.
Yep.
And the father is instantly restored. As soon as he sees her, he starts chuckling, and he's so happy to see that she's alive. And he basically instantly recovers from whatever die of grief syndrome he was suffering from.
Maybe dying of also hunger because the daughters he was left with can't even boil potatoes. So
that's a good point. I'm not sure I'd eat anything they cooked. And we see them next because after Beauty is reunited with her father, she steps out and she sees her sisters. She greets them, and she greets them, oh, happy Tuesday. Nothing special. Hi, girls.
Sisters, good morning.
Chat. Oh, Marguerite.
My God. Are you not dead?
And they're like, you're not dead? Okay. It was just a cute little scene, and Angelica has one of the best lines in the episode here.
Well, back from the dead and in a lofty mood.
I love that. So funny.
Beauty takes off her jewelry. And the next shot, this is just a quick little shot where she's taking off her jewelry and she takes off her ring. She puts the ring in the box. And what I noticed on this rewatch, I don't think I ever caught it before. In a vase right behind the jewelry box, did you see what was there? It was the white rose that the father had picked.
Oh, wow.
It was
I
still
didn't notice
there. I mean, however long she'd been there, months, years, whatever, that white rose was still in full form. It was the exact same rose that her father had picked. Like, oh, that's a nice touch. Next scene, we have Beauty back in her garden with her father. Her father's feeling healthy again. He's out walking. She's walking with him, and Jacques comes back. Good old Jacques.
Oh, we love Jacques.
We do love Jacques. He still hasn't learned another adjective besides charming.
Beauty, you are alive. My, how stunning you are. More charming than ever.
Thank you. You look quite charming yourself.
How charming is Jacques? And
He's just charming. Charming, charming, charming.
you know, he is though. We see that even though Beauty's been gone, Jacques has still been visiting her family while she's been gone and still been talking to her sisters, still been checking on her dad. Jacques a good guy. We get a little break from that where we revisit the castle. And I remember this clearly from the Cocteau film. The Beast is walking through Beauty's rooms and he so clearly misses her. And he's touching the things that she touched. Tears are coming to his eyes. I mean, no dialogue, but it was actually very emotional. I thought that was a sweet scene. The music helped. Kinski acted the heck out of it, even without any words. So credit to him.
I don't know. He's still creepy to me.
I didn't say he wasn't creepy. I said it was a good, touching moment. I didn't say I've got mixed feelings about Klaus Kinski.
I don't feel touched at all by him. He just creeps me out this whole episode.
And I cannot argue with that. So all right. So we go back to Beauty at her house. She's talking to her dad and she explains that she can only stay for 7 days. Then she needs to go back. And Daddy doesn't like this. He's going, no, you're not going back there. That's out of the question. She's going, well, if I don't, he'll die.
Father, when I first saw the Beast, I was as terrified as you, but now when I am with him, I want to smile. Despite his ugliness, he has a gentle heart.
Her father doesn't like what he's hearing, but he does caution her and says, you might just be pitying an animal. Don't confuse it with something else, which was probably very wise advice. So Beauty is still hanging out with her family, and she kind of gets an SOS from the Beast.
Yes.
Through the mirror, just gets a message going, Beauty, remember your promise. And she realizes, oh, shoot, time to go back. And
come back to me, Beauty. Come back to me.
Remember
your promise. And she's like, oh, crap.
Yeah.
She's like, oh, crap. Where's that effing ring? Oh, no.
Exactly.
So she's going to look for it. And she can't find this ring.
Exactly.
And she goes to ask her sisters. Her sisters are enjoying a nice little snack.
She's going, okay, have you girls seen my ring? I don't mind you borrowing it, but give it back. Nope, I didn't take it. I didn't say you took it. Did you borrow it? I've had this conversation with my own sister in the past. So we get some more comic relief from Angelica and Nancy.
And she's running through the scene.
Beauty is clearly used to their nonsense. She's like, all right, I don't care who took it. I'm going to go change. I want the ring back in the box by the time I come back, which I'd say is a fair compromise. So that way she doesn't have to get mad at either one of them. Whoever took it, put it back in the box. No questions asked. We'll all be good.
Mm-hmm.
She goes out and it turns out neither of them took it. They were actually both telling the truth. Who took the ring, Eric?
The father.
He did. That was sneaky.
And he gave it to Jacques to go sell.
Yeah. Go sell it at the market. That was pretty underhanded, Dad. I'd be ticked.
That wasn't nice. That wasn't nice, Dad.
So Beauty comes back. Her ring's not in the box.
What's so important about that stupid ring?
I must return to the Beast, and the ring is the only way.
Well, then, if I did have it, I would most certainly give it back, darling sister.
It was shades of her playing the stepmother in Ever After.
Yes. A pebble in my shoe.
Nothing's final until you're dead, and even then, I'm sure God negotiates. That's exactly what I was thinking of when I saw this scene. Angelica Houston played a couple of fairy tale characters, hasn't she? She was a fairy in The Nightingale.
Yes.
She was that. And then she was a sister.
Primrose, right?
Yes. And of course, she was a sister in Beauty and the Beast, and she was the stepmother in Ever After. And our generation, we all loved her as the Grand High Witch.
So good.
We love Angelica Houston.
Iconic.
She is. And so Angelica honestly does not have the ring. She knows who does, but she honestly does not have the ring. Beauty goes to her father for help. She gives him an honest plea. And like a good father, he caves.
Beauty. I took the ring.
All right. I don't understand it, but if it's this important to you, you can take my horse, find Jacques. I gave him the ring. Now go before I change my mind. Which she instantly forgives him, even though he double-crossed her. But okay, he made it right at the end. And she, yeah, I guess it's okay because she was able to catch Jacques. If she hadn't been able to catch Jacques, this would have been a very different story. Okay, so she does take the horse. We're on location again in Southern California. I mean, France.
And she's galloping across like a field to go find Jacques.
Yep. And you can tell her it really is Susan and Stanley on those horses. He says,
impressive.
Yeah, it is. And those fields, sure, they could be France. They're Southern California, but they could be France. So she does catch him. He still has a soft spot for her, so he still does whatever she says. And she agrees to walk with him on the lake. Sure, whatever you want, just give me the damn ring.
So he gives her the ring, right?
Yes.
He reluctantly gives it over. He doesn't really want to give her the ring, but he gives her the ring. And she does what she needs to do with the ring, twists it, and her cloaks are left there, right, on the field.
Exactly. It's another...
She disappears.
Yes, it's another cheap 80s special effect, but it works, actually. That was probably...
Yeah, it cuts away for like a split second, and then when it goes back, it's just her cape falling to the ground. She's gone.
Exactly. You gotta feel for sure. He keeps getting shafted.
Poor Jacques. He's much more sympathetic than
Gaston
in the Disney version, because Gaston actually tries to go kill the beast and all that, so that's kind of awful, but...
Yeah, Jacques, he's just a nice guy.
He is. And he gives her the ring. You could say, you know what? No. You marry me first, and then I'll give you the ring. You know, he could have used that as leverage. He could have done something with that ring, but...
No, he's just a nice guy.
He is.
I love how Shelley cast her boyfriend in that role.
Oh, they were dating at that time. I forgot that.
Yeah, they were. I think they were living together already at that point.
Wow.
So Beauty makes her way back to the castle. She finds the beast in the garden. He's collapsed.
Forgive me. I'm the monster, not you. Here. Take the ring. It will heal you.
Why did she think the ring would heal him?
The ring doesn't heal. That's why I don't understand that either.
I never
The ring transports. Does she want him to be transported?
Here, take the ring, go away.
I don't understand that at all.
That's a different interpretation entirely.
But it's very in line with the Cocteau version, because she does something very along those lines, that she loves him and that she cares for him. And
I think in the Cocteau version, it was a glove. Wasn't it a magic glove? And it was his glove. So she gave it back to him.
Yeah, it was a glove, but it's so much cuter to be a ring. You know, it's just cuter.
Oh, I agree.
A lady loves jewelry.
Well,
not really a glove.
The ring looked a lot prettier on Susan Sarandon's hand than a big black glove that came down to her elbow.
And just the cute idea of like twisting it, and it's cute. It's a cute little.
It was a nice touch. That I think that was actually a better choice. I think they improved on it there. So I obviously giving him the ring didn't cure him, but
no,
she does declare her love, which I didn't buy, but okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Creepy guy who's always angry and eating the forest animals. Yeah, this is where the episode really failed for me. I never quite bought the romance angle.
I never saw them really get to the point where like Beauty loves him.
Yeah, you
You
saw
do in the
like
Disney
a
version.
couple.
The Disney version does such a good job with that. Disney
It did.
makes, he seems lovable. You see his lovable side. I don't see anything that I would like about this thing. I'm
Like,
sorry, but
he's,
no.
I guess he tries really hard.
Okay, Emily.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It really didn't work. That's the one part that really didn't work for me. But I mean, at this point, we're at like what, 56 minutes out of 59. We need to wrap this puppy up. So yeah, I'm in love with you. Then we get another cheap 80s special effect, which is all it took was her saying, I love you.
And then, and he pops up.
You'll notice there are no real sharp close-ups of the prince.
No good close-ups.
Well, that's
because Klaus Kinski was.
He was like in his late 50s at that point. Maybe
he had drag queen makeup. He had tape under his wig. He was ready for this scene.
And he was.
And he didn't want people
to
see it. He did not want people to see the him up close.
Well, I mean, that was an aging prince right there. He had to have about 35 years on Susan Sarandon.
And you could tell.
Yeah. And she looked really uncomfortable. I mean, he does give the backstory.
The beast is no more. I was the beast. My parents would not believe in fairy tales, so the fairies punished them. They cast a spell on me. I could only be saved by the love of a woman.
Are such miracles possible?
Yes, through love. Love can make a man become a beast. And love can also make an ugly man beautiful.
The costume's very different. He looks very different from every other fairy tale theater prince. I'll give him that. But, oh man, Klaus is the prince. I'm kind of with Susan. I'd prefer the beast at this point. She looked so uncomfortable when he put his arm around her. She really looked like, please don't touch me. Like I said, I don't think Klaus and Susan Sarandon were the best of friends here.
No, she's like, basically, don't touch me, stay at arm's length.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, but I guess she's just going with it, and she's going to marry him. She's going to like.
No, to be fair, she never gave him an answer. He said, will you marry me, beauty, and share my kingdom with me? And she goes, where is your kingdom? She never gave him an answer.
Just assume that they.
It's a fairy tale. Of course, she married him.
Yeah. But then he goes, and where is it? In the clouds. And then they show them going through the clouds. And it's cheap, like 80. So
Yeah.
kind of sad little special effect.
Oh, and very synthesized music. That synthesized music just is terrible there. But the flying through the clouds thing, that I didn't understand when I was a kid, but that is also one final nod to Cocteau, because at the end of the 1946 film, they end up flying through the air and going through the clouds to go back to his kingdom. So that's clearly exactly where they got it from. I don't think it worked here.
No, it definitely didn't work.
So that's the end of our recap of Beauty and the Beast. Eric, what were your favorite things and least favorite things about Beauty and the Beast?
Favorite things, I liked the quality of it, the very high quality. Like I said earlier, how it just felt that you were at a French chateau and that you were out in the countryside and you just felt like you were there. You were teleported there. It felt very cinematic, like a film. I loved that. I love Susan Sarandon in this. I thought she was great, a very young Susan Sarandon, because I'm used to seeing, especially growing up and up until today, a lot older Susan Sarandon. So it's good to have something else where she was a lot younger other than Rocky Horror. So that was great. Least favorite thing, Klaus Kinski.
I saw that coming a mile away.
No, thank you. No, thank you. I just don't like. I don't think he's charming. I don't think it's like a romantic story. This is probably the only version of Beauty and the Beast where I'm not having like an awe moment.
Oh,
the Disney version, I have like an awe moment. Aw, he's so cute. He's so sweet to her. Aw, I really see why she likes him. Aw, Canon Movie Tales, same thing. I thought John Savage was great. I was like, oh, I really like him. Oh, he's so sweet. No, there's nothing sweet. There's nothing cute. He's not even cute when he transforms. Nothing is cute. I just don't like him at all. It's really bad. but I don't. He's the only prince in the whole fairy tale theater that I'm like, ew, no thanks. I'll pass. I'll go back to scrubbing the floors, thanks.
Wow. Yeah, you'd marry Jacques, wouldn't you?
Oh, yeah. So cute. Sign me up.
I hear what you're saying, and you're not wrong. You're not wrong. How do I put I am a Klaus Kinski fan because I'm very familiar with his movie work in Germany, and he's just such a gifted actor. But it was never that he was a romantic guy. Klaus Kinski was a very gifted actor, very strange man. There's a magnetism there, but I will agree, not romantic. And that's for me, I said it during our recap. That's where this episode for me really fails. I never bought that Beauty was in love with the Beast. I did buy that the Beast was in love with her. That part I bought. I thought Klaus Kinski played the heck out of that. There should have been more scenes about them developing a friendship. Instead, there were too many scenes about him being a beast, which admittedly, that's Klaus Kinski's forte. He's much better at being a beast. But
even the Cocteau version had more scenes where they're growing a relationship, you know?
I remember them walking around the castle and like looking at the statues together.
Yeah, and walking in the woods together. And
actually, I will say every other version of Beauty and the Beast, you do see them getting a chance to be friends with each other. And all we saw here was like one conversation and then a bunch of marriage proposals that were turned down. So what did she really see in him? That's where I think the episode really failed, because the romance really wasn't developed. I mean, there wasn't chemistry between the leads, but also I blame the script a bit because they focused far too much on him being an animal and not so much on him being a prince. Then there's the fact that last scene where he's proposing marriage and Beauty looks extremely uncomfortable. But other than that's definitely the episode's weak spots. But that said, it does not ruin the whole episode. The episode has so much going for it in terms of the art direction and the costumes and how well they paid tribute to such a beautiful film. Listeners, if you have not seen the 1946 Cocteau film, please, if you take nothing else away from this, please take a moment and see it, because it is just a beautiful piece of art. As a Klaus Kinski fan, I love that he was in it, although it didn't quite work.
I really would have loved to see, if this was a true rumor, what Jack Nicholson would have brought to the role.
Exactly. And Jessica Lange as well.
Because we've got to see him in romantic roles, you know, where he was a romantic counterpart. We've seen him in terms of endearment. Mm-hmm. We've seen him have moments where he can be very soft, and I mean, Jessica Lange, without a doubt, like during that time, she was the bombshell of the 80s, you know. Postman Always Rings Twice. And
it would have been typecasting to cast Jessica Lange as Beauty. I get that.
But it would have been a very different dynamic with those two.
Oh, yes. And I suspect there would have been great chemistry between those two. I don't know. I've never seen them work together, but I would imagine they would have had great chemistry. And Shelley loved Jack. I did talk to Shelley about her time on The Shining, which there's a lot of misconceptions that Shelley hated The Shining and everything about it. That's not true. When I talked to her, she loved Jack. Jack was her partner in the trenches. That's how she viewed it. He was her buddy, and that's why she wanted to work with him again.
He just seems like a good guy. He seems like a total goofball. He seemed like it would have been real fun on this. I don't know. I think that might have also affected it, knowing the backstory that Klaus really had such disdain for Susan Sarandon. Yes. Maybe he had something to do. Maybe they cut out scenes because he made a stink that he didn't want to do all these scenes with her, or any really romantic scenes with her.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
You know, we don't know.
I wouldn't put it past him at all. There's not much I would put past Klaus Kinski. And I think our listeners who are very familiar with Klaus Kinski, there's something I've kind of danced around on this podcast. I don't want to skip over it. I will say, yes, there are allegations about him that I don't know one way or the other. I have no reason to believe they are not true. I have every reason to believe Klaus Kinski was not a very nice person. I'm not going to excuse any of his behavior, but I'm talking about him as an actor here. So I can believe that he was just really nasty to a lot of the women on the set. That would not surprise me at all.
There's definitely a way to separate the art from the artist.
Yes. And also, I mean, he's dead and gone. He's been gone for a long time. So it's not like he's out there hurting anybody anymore. So I guess that's where I draw the line.
Very well said, Emily. So as far as what you would rate this episode, what would you rate this episode, Emily?
You know, on the rewatch, I didn't enjoy it as much as I remembered. I remembered liking this episode a lot more. So I'm like at like a 6.5. No, I'll go up to a 7 because I really like how they paid tribute to the Cocteau version. The costumes were gorgeous. The art direction was gorgeous. The attention to detail was very good. It was just the lack of chemistry between the leads. So I guess I'll go at a 7 out of 10. About you?
In my notes, I put 7 out of 10 because that was when you and I had watched together when you were visiting me in New York. And
Right.
we had watched this back to back with Cocteau. So I had a really deep appreciation for it, seeing how they really paid a beautiful, really respectful homage to the original version that it was based on.
Yeah.
But I don't really think I would give it a 7 out of 10 anymore because I really did not enjoy this at all.
Yeah. I didn't enjoy it as much as I remembered enjoying it.
I would honestly give it a 6. I think it's a 6 out of 10 for me. I think it's only that high for me because of the artistic direction, because of the scenery. I just felt it was forced. Like even Susan Sarandon, who I think is a great actress. I love Susan Sarandon. I just feel like it's so forced sometimes, even with her. She's like, father. I'm like, girl.
The guy of grief. Yeah.
I'm like, girl.
I totally agree with you. The one person who did not force anything and who was 100% Angelica Houston. My God.
Oh, she's so flawless.
I couldn't find a bad note in anything.
No, and they were having the best time. You know, they were having a really good time.
Yeah, it's like, I don't really want to watch Beauty and the Beast. Can we watch the Georgette and Marguerite show?
And it's funny because Marguerite happens to be the name of her daughter in Ever After. So
I forgot that. Wow.
Yeah.
You would remember that. And someday, dear listeners, you will hear about Eric and my history with Ever After because there's a story there.
There is a story. But yeah, I think a 6. Maybe if I'm being nice, like a 6.5.
Yeah, and that's where I started. I'm like 6.5. Well, I gave it the edge because of the art direction.
And Klaus Kinski's super creepy. And then he's always at a 10. He's always screaming. Like, I don't, or being just creepy, shrieking. I've never heard anyone in my life like a shrieking whisper. Like, it's just, I don't understand. I don't understand anything about it. I don't know. I only rewatched it because we had to for this episode. Would I ever go back and watch that one? Probably not. No.
If you watch some more Klaus Kinski movies, his performance does make a little bit more sense because there's no such thing as telling Klaus Kinski to take it down a notch. That just never worked. So getting him to speak in a normal voice, that was a win, but he was such a gifted actor. That's why I'm a little higher because I am admittedly a Klaus Kinski fan. I guess you're at a 6, I'm at a 7, we're at a 6.5. I feel comfortable with that rating.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's fair. But yeah, I definitely do appreciate what the director chose to do here. He wanted to do a beautiful homage, and I feel like in that respect, he did accomplish that as far as a really nice, romantic, feel-good story that you want to revisit. Not for me. Nope, it's not my thing. It's not for me.
I never found this to be one of the more romantic episodes, which is ironic because it is one of the more romantic fairy tales.
I mean, it is. I mean, it's a story about Stockholm Syndrome, so...
It is not. A fairy tale about not judging a book by its cover and looking more than skin
by
deep.
being forced to live with someone against your will.
Usually I'm the cynic here.
It's true though.
No,
It's true
that
though.
is not the point of the story. The point of the story is to look beyond, not judge a book by its cover and look further than skin deep. Eye of
the beholder. Beauty's only skin deep. We got it. Stockholm syndrome.
You're such a cynic, and usually I'm the cynic. This is the funny thing. Oh dear.
Too funny.
Okay. So have you found anything embarrassing that I might have written years ago?
Anything embarrassing? You?
To anyone who's not familiar with our podcast, years ago, I put up one of the first fairy tale theater websites that was ever on the internet. And I wrote reviews about every single episode. And this was decades ago. I have not looked at these reviews ever since, but Eric, my loyal co-host, has found them.
Oh, I have. And I am going to definitely share what is on each of those. Mind you, for those of you that are not familiar with Emily, Emily's a little famous in the world of fairy tale theater because this is the only comprehensive site during that time, during the late 90s. I think you compiled it.
I put it up in high school, so that would have been around 1996 that I put this up.
Okay.
Maybe
Mid to late 90s.
Yeah.
For those of you that want to check it out, because I don't think I shared this in the last episode, it's snowwhite158.tripod.com.
Wow.
So you can follow along. I love it.
All right. So I'm not sure I want to know, Eric, but what did I write about Beauty and the Beast back in the day?
You gave it 4 stars. You really like this one.
Oh, wow.
You did. You said Beauty and the Beast is a great story, one that is both romantic and intriguing. This production of fairy tale theater keeps remarkably true to the original tale and has performances from some of the most gifted actors of our time. German actor Klaus Kinski makes his role of the Beast a fantastic, believable one. He allows the viewer to see how tortured the Beast is, something most productions don't think about. He was a phenomenal actor. Seeing him in this is a complete treat.
Oh, wow.
However,
there had to be one there.
One can't help notice the problems with the final scene. When the prince finally appears, he gets no close-ups and is shot completely in soft focus. Not surprising when you realize Kinski was nearly 60 at the time. Wow, Emily, called him out.
Sounds like I was going through a Kinski phase, but
called him out.
Well, I wasn't wrong. I'll stand behind that.
Oh my gosh. Klaus Kinski was an extraordinary actor, but was rather disturbed in real life. Susan Sarandon even looks a wee bit uncomfortable when he puts his arm around her.
A wee bit?
A wee bit.
She
A
looked
wee
downright
bit.
Scared.
You got all Irish in that moment. A wee bit. Angelica Houston also appears in this, clearly enjoying her supporting role as Beauty's sister. She's paired with Lancey Lenehan, and the two worked off each other brilliantly. They really acted like sisters. Stephen Elliott is another fine actor, although he does seem to be taking this role as the father just a wee bit too serious.
A wee bit again? Was I in Ireland? What?
A wee bit, Emily, a wee bit.
Okay, 16-year-old Emily, what were you thinking?
The sets are very good, but the costuming is very limited. Beauty and the Beast are living in an enchanted castle with everything they want, but they never want to change their clothes.
You said that! You said that!
That's really the only flaw in the film. The rest is great. It's one of the best episodes they made. Oh, okay.
Wow.
Good for you. You liked it then.
Well, I liked it a lot then. That's what I said. I remember liking it a lot more than I liked it during my rewatch.
This time.
Yeah, that's interesting.
That is very interesting.
Yeah, I was definitely being kind to Klaus Kinski there.
I think so, because I don't see any redeeming qualities there. I'm not a fan. Sorry, sir. I know you're past now. R.I.P.
Well, he was dead then, too. I think he died in like 91.
Oh, really?
Full disclaimer, the allegations about him, the sexual allegations against him had not come out at that time. I did not know them at that time, just to be fair.
That's something in more recent years, isn't it? More in the 2000s that came to light?
Yes. there's that. I was studying German, so I was watching a lot of German cinema at the time, a lot of Werner Herzog movies that Kinski starred in. That's probably why I was being very sympathetic to Kinski. I don't know why I kept saying wee bit. That is not an expression I use.
No, it's not. That's why it's funny to me.
I do not ever remember using that expression.
That is wild. That's so funny.
You're like, I've known you for years and I've never heard you say that.
I've never heard you say that in my life. That's so funny. Once again, you have some trivia. Klaus Kinski was a huge fan of the Cocteau film Beauty and the Beast, La Belle et la Bête, and agreed to do the role because of its faithfulness to the original. Stan Wilson, who played Jacques, was dating Shelley Duvall at the time. Jessica Lange was the original choice for the role of Beauty. And the sets, costume, and art direction were all inspired by the 1944 film. So you wrote all that.
Yeah, except
you didn't do any quotes, though, on this one. Here, you only did one quote. Love can make a man become a beast, and love can also make an ugly man beautiful.
Huh, that's weird. I didn't do quotes. That's not like me.
Yeah.
I remember Beauty going, I am the monster, not you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember that.
Even though I look so ugly, I have a soul. There were some good quotes in there.
There were some good quotes. I'm shocked that you didn't put them.
Yeah.
You're slacking a wee bit.
Okay. Thank you for that embarrassing blast from the past. Wow. That gives me some perspective. And also, yes, our opinions can change. This is a perfect example. I remember loving this episode, and today when I did my rewatch, I didn't love it as much as I expected to, sadly.
So I think all our takeaways are that we really appreciate the artistic direction it went in. We really appreciate the cinematic style of this, but we really didn't love, as far as a quote unquote princess fairy tale, that it didn't have the romantic aspects, which we expect to be there. Well, we still think it's a worthy entry into the collection. For me, not my personal favorite. For you, you said not really you didn't love it as much this time, but clearly you used to love it. So
clearly. It's not a romantic one. It's really not that romantic. And that's where it kind of fails for me, because Beauty and the Beast is such a romantic story. So that seems like such a shame. And the takeaway that I hope our listeners get is, please watch the Cocteau film.
Oh, so good. You need to see it. It's definitely a must-see.
If you even enjoyed this episode of Fairy Tale Theater, you should see the movie that pretty much inspired it.
It's a shot for shot in some scenes. It's literally shot for shot.
Exactly.
So,
and honestly, you know what? This inspired me to go and rewatch the Cocteau film. Maybe that's what it is. This one made me realize how much more I love the French film.
There it is.
Thank you. And this has been a rather enlightening episode. So I hope you enjoyed tonight's tale, and join us next time when we review The Boy Who Left Home to find out about the shivers.
Thank you all for joining us. We really appreciate you listening.
Thank you. And remember to live happily ever after.
Thank you, and good night.
Night.